Resident Evil 4 is now 17 years old, and it seems like a lot of fans are eager to learn more about the secrets this game has to offer. So with that being said, here's 40 things you still don't know about Resident Evil 4. Number 1. So we all know how gruesome getting decapitated by Dr. Salvador can be. But in Resident Evil 4's Japanese version, decapitations don't even exist in the game. In this version, the violence was heavily toned down. There was no decapitations, and you were unable to explode a Gennado's head. There was also 2 more censored versions. The Germany version, which removed the mercenaries and assignment Ada from the game completely, and the recent VR version of the game, which removed all flirtatious and offensive dialogue towards women in the game. Number 2. This is just a minor secret, but near the beginning of the game, after the first encounter with the villager, just past the dog, if you go right into this corner, you will find a red herb. It's pretty well hidden due to all the weeds blocking the view of it completely. Number 3. So a few years back, Capcom made an esports multiplayer game where you fight zombies, with one of the maps being the village in Resident Evil 4. Unfortunately, the reception to this game was generally negative. On its reveal, critics compared the game to the Call of Duty franchise, as well as Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, which was another one of Capcom's games that had mixed reception. Regardless, it is pretty neat seeing the village in Gennados complete with updated graphics. Number 4. In the GameCube version of Resident Evil 4, there was a glitch that allowed Ashley to use the suplex technique on enemies. This glitch was eventually fixed in later editions. Number 5. After the QuickTime event involving the first boulder chase, if you look up, there is a bridge, and on that bridge is 2 Gennados. It's likely that these Gennados are the same ones that pushed the boulder down the hill. Number 6. So there are countless scrapped enemies that were planned to be in Resident Evil 4, but just never made the cut. In this video, I will just be covering some of the more interesting ones, but if you would like to check out the full list of enemies, I will be sure to leave a link in the description for it. The Armored Gennado was a prototype to the Garrador enemy. The first design appears very similar with its helmet design. However, it does not have claws and its eyes have not been stitched. An interesting design choice was to mark the Los Illuminados insignia onto the breastplate. The second design used an older and bulkier style of armor, with the entire face being hidden from view by the helmet. The Super Dynamite Man was intended to appear somewhere in the castle stage to serve as a suicide bomber. He appears to be dressed like the villagers, suggesting he may be one of the miners. He is wearing a vest holding dynamite and has a torch in one hand, which he has used to ignite another 2 sticks stuck to his head. The Lurching Man was the initial design for the Regenerators. This creature had the ability to morph and change forms. The Parasite Woman was one of the more disturbing looking designs for the enemies. 2 designs for this creature had it wearing a straitjacket, one design had it equipped with a shotgun, and the other design was a 2-headed mutation with multiple limbs. Number 7. So obviously there is no Children Gennados in this game, and that is due to the strict rules concerning the depiction of violence targeted at children in video games. Because of these rules, the developers decided not to include them in the game. Number 8. So there actually is a film that summarizes the events in Resident Evil 4 called Biohazard 4 Incubate. It does cut a few sections from the game, like the walk to the village, the Del Lago fight, and much of chapters 3, 4, and 5 for the sake of compacting the film. Number 9. During the first major attack in the village, if you climb up the watchtower, the villagers will throw Molotovs and injure Leon. However, these Molotovs actually can't kill Leon, instead they will just get him to 1 HP. Number 10. When Leon wakes up from his nightmare in chapter 2-1, if you take the boat back to the dock where the Del Lago boss fight starts and go back up the road, a secret cutscene will trigger where it shows a group of zombie dogs gathering and then proceed to ambush Leon. Number 11. So you can actually fight 2 chainsaw guys at the village. You can encounter one by going down the path that takes you to the next area in the chapter. When you defeat him, he drops a ruby. And then after this, you can go into the house to trigger the cutscene for the other chainsaw guy to enter the village. Number 12. So after Leon saves Ashley in the church, the 2 are forced to escape due to zealots pointing crossbows at them. So Leon is forced to crash through a window and head outside. Now if you end up going back inside the church, you can actually fight the same 2 zealots that attacked Leon and Ashley. Number 13. Leon and the Merchant are voiced by the same voice actor. Number 14. Ashley is voiced by the same voice actor that voiced Sandy Cheeks in SpongeBob SquarePants. Number 15. Resident Evil 4 went through many versions of the game, and the first one later became Devil May Cry 1. The story was based on unraveling the mystery surrounding the protagonist Tony Redgrave and his twin brother Paul Redgrave, the sons of Oswald E. Spencer. Number 16. Despite only appearing in an intercom transmission with Leon in the game, Hunnigan does have a full character model. Through game manipulation, some fans were able to find this out. Number 17. For the beginning of its life, Resident Evil was more closely associated with the PlayStation, even though the entries came out for the Sega Saturn and Nintendo 64. Because of this, Resident Evil 4's development started in 1999 on Sony's second mainline system. Everybody knows this changed. However, Resident Evil 4 would only come out on the PS2 about 9 months after its release on the GameCube. Number 18. If you go to your inventory and examine the broken butterfly, it says a very powerful 45 Magnum revolver. This will make anyone's day. This is a reference to the line in Sudden Impact when Clint Eastwood's Harry Callan says, "Go ahead, make my day."
Go ahead, make my day.
Number 19. So there is a very interesting controller made that was dedicated to Resident Evil 4, and that is the chainsaw controller, manufactured by Newbie Tech. It came in two versions, a yellow chainsaw for the GameCube version and a red one for the PlayStation 2 version. Number 20. Next up, there are a few secret death animations hidden in the game. The first one triggers when you shoot the lake a few times before the Del Lago fight. While shooting in the lake on the edge of the boat dock, Del Lago will jump out and swallow Leon whole. The next one is during the cabin fight. If you shoot Luis Serra too many times, he will retaliate and shoot back at Leon, killing him on the spot.
Adios, Leon.
And the other one would be during the Double Gigante fight. Once you drop one of the El Gigantes into the lava pit, if you get too close to the pit, the El Gigante will grab Leon and proceed to lower him into the pit. Number 21. So it's actually possible to obtain Ada's shotgun in Leon's scenario. For some reason, Ada's shotgun is located out of bounds in the cave at the lake where Del Lago was fought. Using the Ditman glitch and climbing the ladder of the merchant's building, then jumping down, Leon can stand in midair, which allows Leon to go out of bounds, allowing you to obtain Ada's shotgun. Number 22. The starting screen for Ada's Separate Ways game mode was inspired by a movie poster from La Femme Nikita, which is about a convicted felon turned spy who falls in love. Number 23. Sherry Birkin, who appeared in Resident Evil 2 and 6, was originally the person Leon was sent out to save. However, saving her more than once may have been a little bit repetitive, which Capcom thought as well, given that she was her own playable character in Resident Evil 6. Nonetheless, that explains just why Ashley is so remarkably similar to Sherry. Number 24. It is not uncommon for development teams to visit real-world locations for inspiration in photo shoots. They even use the photos for textures within the game. Members of the Resident Evil 4 team went to Spain and the United Kingdom to take pictures and scout locations. The final game takes place in Spain and is divided into a village, a castle, and an island area, so there is no doubt that the trip served as a proper inspiration. Number 25. Resident Evil has notoriously bad dialogue, though it is endearing.
No thanks, bro.
You might be surprised to learn that most of the series Resident Evil 4 included lacks any Japanese voice tracks. Number 26. Certain fans still think Resident Evil 4 spelled doom for the true Resident Evil. Even members of the development team were uneasy with the game's new direction, even though it was being headed by the series creator. Eventually, the new scenario and setting helped differentiate it from the other games in the franchise, and helped it seem less like just a gimmick. It also helped the series expand beyond just about being the events that occurred in Raccoon City. Number 27. In Chapter 5, after the helicopter scene, if you use the extra attachment scope on the sniper rifle, it is possible to make out a figure in the distance. If you move the camera over to the location, you will find a cardboard cutout of a person wearing a green jacket and a scarf. It is rumored that this person is a developer of Resident Evil 4. Number 28. Just before going to the castle, if you keep your eyes on the door before the castle, the Gennados actually won't spawn until you look the other way. Number 29. So Resident Evil 4 is playable on literally everything. There's even a mobile port for this game. However, it definitely does not look the greatest for obvious reasons. Number 30. There was originally going to be a silencer available in the game for the TMP and the handgun. This item was later scrapped for obvious reasons, as it really wouldn't be that useful. Number 31. So Resident Evil 4 had a demo disc that was released in Japan in 2004. It was purchasable through the magazine Famitsu and was also a pre-order bonus. And in this demo, it actually included an inventory system similar to RE4's predecessors. Number 32. So there is a very logical theory out there that the merchant is Luis's grandfather. According to Mendez's notes, he cannot seem to tail Sarah properly through the village. In turn, he suspects that Sarah used the same passageways his grandfather used to utilize back in the day. Mendez even said that should his grandfather be alive, he would have used them as leverage to lure Sarah out. So, as seen in the game, the merchant set up shop underground in these tunnels, so he must be familiar with the entire layout, which makes the connection of the merchant and Luis's grandfather very similar. Number 33. So this game has a secret difficulty balance, which adjusts how easy or difficult the game is depending on how well you perform against enemies. This changes everything in the game, from enemy health to the amount of ammo you pick up, as well as less enemy spawns. The most noticeable balance is when you are low on health and have no healing items, the merchant will sell you some first aid sprays. Number 34. Through exploration, a Redditor was able to find a purple ammo box used for the Chicago typewriter. They said it was an in-game asset that went unused, but the game somehow managed to spawn it inside the game. Number 35. So Ashley originally wore a much different outfit. The beta version has her outfitted in a long sleeve red coat with a belt, brown gloves, long black pants, and brown boots. Number 36. So the Krauser boss fight can be easily beaten with the knife. For some reason it seems to do a ton of damage specifically to Krauser. Number 37. So it's actually possible to play as Wesker in Leon's scenario. All you gotta do is go to the Mercenaries mode, click on Wesker, and then exit and go back to the main menu. Click New Game, the game will start, and you will appear as Albert Wesker himself. Number 38. There was a scrap treasure in Resident Evil 4 called the Onyx Stone. There was a small and large version of this stone. Number 39. Luis Serra's original character model was designed with a mustache, but he was ultimately clean shaven for the final game. However, the trial version of the game still featured him with the mustache. Number 40. The game went through as many as 4 different versions before the team settled on what the final game would be. In the first game, Leon infiltrated Umbrella's main headquarters. The next game, known as the Hookman version, was actually shown to the public. After this version was dropped, another scenario where Leon attacks Oswald Spencer's mansion was in the early planning stages before changing it up once again to what fans eventually got.